Israel breaks ceasefire. This is in a story that obviously is at the top of, to me, everybody's news cycle, or at least it should be. The question is, we see what's happening in Gaza right now, but the question is, did Israel break the ceasefire, or was this always the plan? On Monday night, as I reported last night live with you all here, the Israeli Defense Forces, the IDF, bombed Gaza, claiming retaliation for Hamas. Their argument was Hamas won't release the hostages, so we're going to blow things up. But by Tuesday evening, tonight, Israel confirmed that it had killed 4 senior Hamas officials, including Issam Ad-Daalis, Hamas's political leader in Gaza, and Mahmoud Abu Watfa, a top interior minister. 2 more leaders may also be dead, but Israel said it needs more proof. Now, I just want to pause and say, I told you that this was going to happen. Yesterday, there were people, particularly Zionist mouthpieces for the Israeli government, saying that we were lying that 100 Palestinians had been killed. I reported 70, then I reported 80, then I reported 110. They said I was lying about each and every one. And now more than 400 people are dead in Gaza in the last 24 hours, with another 600 injured. Now, Israel's not disputing those numbers. What they are saying is, well, you know, we don't know how many are combatants. We don't know how many are civilians. Guess what? I'm going to tell you, spoiler alert. Israel's going to say that they were almost all combatants, because they already think to be Palestinian is to be a combatant, to be a Gazan is to be a combatant, and certainly to be a male Palestinian is to be a combatant. So they always conflate those things so that they can make it seem like they have this purity of arms, this restraint. Those are 2 dominant frameworks in terms that were used to describe the Israeli military over the years, and it's all untrue. Like every other military in the world, Israel's military is designed to defend the interests of the nation state. And those interests can only be defended through large amounts of violence. And what Max Weber talked about is a monopoly on violence. We can get on theoretical stuff later, but the point here is it's ugly out there right now. It's ugly out there right now. Now, all of this comes despite a very fragile ceasefire agreement that was supposed to slow down the violence after months of bombings, after hostage negotiations, after failed peace talks. All this was supposed to happen. And finally, the ceasefire, which was in place 9 months ago, but they refused it when Biden was president, but accepted when Trump was president. It got brokered by the US, got brokered by Egypt, it got brokered by Qatar. And the idea was that it was meant to allow for hostage exchanges and humanitarian aid. But Israel has said for a long time that if Hamas didn't fully release the hostages, the war would continue. It looks as if to the West and to the observant world that, oh yeah, if Hamas just released the hostages, all of this would be okay. That's not the case. There was a deal in place. Phase 1, phase 2. There'd be some hostages released. We'd get to phase 2. Phase 2 would be more hostages released in exchange for a permanent and durable peace. Israel does not want to get to phase 2. They made it very clear that they no longer want to follow the terms of the agreement that they signed. They didn't want to get to a phase 2 because in a phase 2, there's a permanent peace. Now Israel has taken it to another step. They're now saying that if they do not get hostages back, they are going to start annexing land. They're going to start taking Gaza over if they don't get what they want, which is the hostages back. Now, I'm going to tell you something. You can't just arbitrarily decide you're going to annex land. It doesn't work that way. You can't just say, you know what, if you don't do what we want, we're going to steal your country. It does not work that way. Now, let me be clear. Kidnapping innocent people is also a war crime. Hostage taking is also illegal. But that's what the ceasefire agreement was for. That is what the ceasefire agreement was for. The idea here was, in exchange for the hostages being released, Israel would stop bombing the hell out of Gaza and stop committing its own war crimes. But Israel, once again, has not followed the rules. Israel has not followed the agreement. And frankly, they never have. From the moment this ceasefire was agreed upon, Israel was still violating it. In fact, Scott L just said the same thing. Israel always violated ceasefire and started hammering the West Bank. Trump is officially now a war criminal. No surprise there. I'm not sure. The only thing I'm thinking about is whether or not today is the day he became one. Well, the bunny said the only negotiating partner less reliable than Israel is the United States.